Presented by Listen Headlines. Latest financial news from trusted sources.
Global economy. October 30. 1519 America New York, US and EU agree deal to ease tariffs on steel and aluminium. Agreement reached at G20 in bid to resolve trade dispute that has dogged transatlantic ties since Trump.
New York Times Business. October 30. 1518 America New York, Louise Slade, scientist who studied the molecules in food, dies at 74. Her research focused on how to keep dough, bread, cookies and crackers tasting delicious even after weeks on a grocery store shelf. The Library of Economics and Liberty. October 30. 1508 America New York, what should have happened in 2008-09? This post discusses what should have happened in 2008-09 and what did happen in 2006-08. Reallocation of resources. Instead, we got a deep recession in 2008-09.
Marginal Revolution. October 30. 1505 America New York, why are relatively poor people not more supportive of redistribution? We test a key assumption underlying seminal theories about preferences for redistribution, which is that relatively poor people should be the most in favor of redistribution.
Wall Street Journal U.S. Business. October 30. 1440 America New York, American Airlines cancels hundreds of flights. American canceled close to 400 flights Saturday afternoon and 250 flights for Sunday due to staffing shortfalls that followed bad weather. New York Times Business. October 30. 1328 America New York, Union for John Deere workers reaches tentative deal to end two-week strike. The agreement must still be approved by UAW members. They had rejected an earlier accord negotiated by the union. About 10,000 unionized workers at the agriculture equipment maker Deere and AMP company went on strike earlier this month. Wall Street Journal U.S. Business. October 30. 1316 America New York, Deere reaches tentative agreement with striking workers. Leaders for the United Auto Workers Union were expected to brief their members on the terms of the latest tentative agreement that would cover more than 10,000 workers at 14 plants.
Marginal Revolution. October 30. 1242 America New York, Saturday assorted links. 1. I should hope so. 2. Bruce Liu plays a Chopin etude. 3. Carlsen vs. Nepo checkmate challenge competition. Chess is getting so much better at marketing. And the difference in natural ability is manifest.
The Library of Economics and Liberty. October 30. 1154 America New York, Heather Cox Richardson's false history. Historian Heather Cox Richardson, on her public Facebook page on October 28, 2021, wrote a long post about the Great Depression, Herbert Hoover, and FDR. Her story about Hoover's tax policy is false. Wall Street Journal U.S. Business. October 30. 1108 America New York, journalists venture beyond their newsrooms to try to cash in. Substack and Facebook Bulletin are among the news services pursuing high-profile reporters and commentators, creating tension within traditional news organizations. Wall Street Journal U.S. Business. October 30. 11 o'clock America New York, Ai Weiwei traces a century of making authorities squirm. A new memoir by world-famous artist provocateur Ai Weiwei, 1,000 Years of Joys and Sorrows, traces a century of his family's ups and downs with authorities. It's being published in more than 20 countries, though not China. New York Times Business. October 30. 1052 America New York, pressure grows on G20 nations to get COVID vaccines to the poor. The world's leaders are focusing on preventing future pandemics, but experts say rich nations are not doing enough to help the poor survive the current one. The leaders of the world's 20 largest economies posed for a so-called family photograph at the Group of 20 summit meeting on Saturday in Rome.
Wall Street Journal Markets. October 30. 10 o'clock America New York, gig companies can't take everyone for a ride. For ride-sharing and food delivery companies, underpaying drivers won't deliver.
Forex Live. October 30. 9:40 America New York, November seasonals. 6 trends to watch in a month with some strong signals. November Forex seasonals. November is an interesting month for seasonals because there are a few strong trends and some that often interrupted. Cable is an interesting example.
Wall Street Journal U.S. Business. October 30th. 9:10 America New York, G20 leaders back deal to overhaul corporate tax. Leaders of the world's biggest economies endorsed a deal on corporate taxation this weekend from which the U.S. and other richer countries are set to benefit the most. Wall Street Journal U.S. Business. October 30th. 9:09 America New York, supply chain crisis has companies asking, should we still advertise? As companies face shortages in everything from raw materials to labor to cargo containers, some are questioning whether it makes sense to promote products they can't adequately stock.
Forex Live. October 30th. 8:59 America New York, G20 leaders to endorse global minimum tax deal, want it in place in 2023. Reuters. Citing a draft, the global minimum tax has been in the works for a while, so it's not a surprise. I could see it impacting capital flows over time, but it's tough to see it in any tradable way, especially with so much of the implementation and loopholes still unknown.
The Library of Economics and Liberty. October 30th. 8:38 America New York, remembering Luigi Einaudi and the Italian economic miracle. On this day in 1961, Luigi Einaudi, 1874–1961, passed away. Einaudi was a household name for generations of Italians, a name associated with economics and, particularly, with free market ideas.
Daily FX Market News. October 30th. 8:23 America New York, crude oil outlook. Oil prices remain supported ahead of OPEC+. Oil prices continue to rise as fundamental factors weigh on supply. Rising channel continues to hold bulls at bay.
New York Times Business. October 30th. 8 o'clock America New York, how should billionaires be taxed? A proposed billionaire tax appears to have been shelved, but questions about how to best tax extreme wealth remain.
Wall Street Journal Markets. October 30th. 7:30 America New York, as China's developers struggle, investors prefer property managers. The companies that look after the country's vast apartment complexes are in much better shape.
Naked Capitalism. October 30th. 6:54 America New York, IM doc on medication, medical supply shortages and political backlash. Key parts of the medical industry in the U.S. are being held together with duct tape and baling wire. What happens if the stresses get worse?